Alright, well, this is not even showing me that I'm live, but I see, maybe I'm live now. Alright, I think that looks clear now. Maybe. Maybe I'll stay connected. Alright, we'll try this again. This is Algebra 2. May 5th. And we are going to eventually be solving quadratic functions or solving quadratic equations by completing the square. But before we do that, we're going to work today on just completing the square because this lesson can be a little difficult. So I'm going to break it down into 2 different days. And it's perfect because IXL has 2 different lessons for this that matches what I want to do. So that is a good thing. Alright, so once again, we're going to have a quadratic equation. And we're going to solve it for x. Y'all have already solved these by square roots and by factoring using your zero product property. There's 2 more ways that we're going to learn to solve. One's by completing the square, and then one is by the infamous quadratic formula. We're going to work today and Thursday on completing the square. I do believe it's the one that causes the most problems with students. So, like I said, we're starting today just doing completing the square part. We're not going to actually solve any equations today. Oh, there's Lori. Hey, Lori. I've been having a really hard time getting this to come up today. It keeps going out. I have to delete the video. But it looks like it's good and clear now. Okay, so, and I'll say it one more time because I don't know when you joined, but we are completing the square. We're going to be solving by completing the square on Thursday, and this is leading up to that point. Today we're just going to be doing the first step, which is so easy. It's going to be really easy to get a 100 on this IXL topic to get some bonus points. Eventually we're going to be going through a pretty hard process on Thursday. But this is the first step to that process, and so that's all we're focusing on today. To kind of remember or understand why we're doing what we're doing on completing the square, let's look back to whenever we had perfect square trinomials that we had to factor. Remember, if you have a trinomial that looks like this, that has a perfect square at the beginning, and then right here at the end. Oh, there's a Facebook conspiracy. Gabe couldn't get on either. There's a Facebook conspiracy out there. X squared plus 6x plus 9. That perfect square trinomial. If you'll think back to whenever we had to factor these, we took each of the first term and the last term and took the square root and put it in one binomial to the second power. Those were our special cases. We took the square root of the first term, which was x, and we took the square root of the last term, in this case is 3, and then we squared it. So we went from this trinomial, this perfect square trinomial, and went to this binomial square when factoring it. And then we're going to do that again in our lesson Thursday when we solve. But all we're going to do now is focus on this. We want our trinomials to be perfect squares. And that means, if you'll look, this 9 right here is what you get when you half the 6 that's in the middle and then square it. If you take this 6 and you half it, you get 3. And when you square 3, you get 9. And that's all you have to do to complete the square. So like if you were told that your problem was x squared plus 8x, and we know that this last term right here has to be a perfect square to complete it, you're just going to take this 8 and you're going to half it. So you're going to do 8 divided by 2, which is 4. And then you're going to take the 4 and you're going to square it. 4 times 4, which is 16. So that's all you do to complete your square. So in other words, you take the middle term, the b, and you half it. And then once you half it, you square it. So if you'll remember, b divided by 2, and that answer squared, that's always what you're going to put in this blank right here when you complete your square. So look at this one. You're going to do negative 12 divided by 2. I'll just write it down right here. Negative 12 divided by 2. And then whatever you get there, you're going to square it. So what is negative 12 divided by 2? Negative 12 divided by 2 is negative 6. And what is negative 6 squared? It's 36. So your answer is positive 36. And they're all going to be positive, because when you square anything, no matter if it's a negative sign that you're squaring, it turns out to be positive. So in IXL, they already have the plus sign for you. You've just got to fill in that number that I've got in the box. That's all there is to this lesson. You half the middle term, you square that answer, and that's it. So look at example 2. On example 2, complete the square, r squared plus 22r, and we want to put a number right here that's going to make that a perfect square trinomial. That's the whole goal of this. Don't get lost in what we're how we're getting our answer. Make sure you know what it stands for. So we've got r squared plus 22r, and we want to put a c term right here that's going to be make this a perfect square trinomial. So half the 22. That means you're going to divide 22 by 2, which is 11. And then we're going to square that. So 11 squared is 121. And so that is your answer that you're going to put in, 121. Not focused. Are you not focused? Or I'm not focused? Or is the screen not focused? Okay. I don't know, when you said not focused, I bet that means the picture. And so, I don't know what you saw. Alright, well let me go back over these then. On example 1, let me just find something to write down what we're doing, because I don't know when it was unfocused. You're going to have x squared, and you're going to have some middle term, let's just say 10x. And then you're going to have to tell what this last number has to be to make this a perfect square trinomial. And all you're doing is taking the middle term, the b term, and you're going to half it. So we're going to take 10 and we're going to half it, and then we're going to square that answer. And that's going to go here. So half of 10 is 5. And when you square 5, you get 25, and that's your answer. And that's all we're doing to complete our square. Alright, so let me go on. I'm going to do 3 more examples just to make sure you've got it. 2 of them are going to have odd numbers in the middle. Sometimes that throws students off. So I want to make sure you go over that. Let me look and see. Okay, it looks like you can maybe see it now. Alright, example 3. Complete the square. X squared minus 18x. We want a number here at the end that's going to make that a perfect square trinomial. To get it, you half the 18. Don't even worry about the sign because they're all going to be plus at the end. So just half your 18. What's half of 18? 9. And you're going to take 9 and you're going to square it. You get 81, and that's your answer. Isn't that easy? That's what this whole IXL lesson's on. And remember, this is preparing us for Thursday's lesson, which is a little harder. A lot harder. On this one, we're going to complete the square. But now, look at this. When you half 9, you get a decimal. And we don't want decimal answers. We have to keep these in fractions. So, you can't really divide 9 by 2 other than writing it over 2 that way. So, if it's odd, you're just going to put it over 2. 9 over 2 is half of 9. And then you're going to square that. And when you square a fraction, you just square the top number and the bottom number. So that's going to be 9 times 9 over 2 times 2, which is going to be 81 over 4. And that's your answer. 81 over 4. And then on example 5, if you have x squared minus x and you want to complete this square, you're going to have to take half of the middle term, but if there's not a number there, remember it's understood to be a 1. Also remember, we're not concerned with the sign, because even though when you half this you get a negative, when you square it you're still going to get a positive. So don't even concern yourself at all with the sign. So half the b term, which is 1 over 2, because you can't half a 1 other than making it 1/2 or 0.5. And they don't want any decimal answers. They want fractions. So after you've put your b, your middle term, 2, now just square it. And that's going to be 1 times 1 over 2 times 2, which is going to be over 4, and that is your answer. I went through all of these, and that's as hard as they get on your lesson J9 on Algebra 2. So, Lori, if you're still with me, did that make sense? Oh, it's blurry again. It is not focused. But I think it just went out of focus after I finished that last one. Alright, so you were able to see everything before it went blurry again. In case you missed the assignment, it's IXL, Algebra 2, J9. And then tell Gabe to make sure, and any other Algebra 2 student that watches this later, y'all try to tune in live, and it's going to be around 2:30 or 3 again Thursday. If you can, try to tune in live, because that lesson that we're going to do Thursday involves this, plus a whole lot more. It gets really pretty complicated. Alright, see you later, alligator. Take care. Bye.